All right. Well, everyone, holding by Pirke Avos, Ethics for Our Fathers, as it is known. Again, I want to welcome everyone, holding by Pirke Avos, Ethics for Our Fathers. We are in chapter 2, Mishna 15. This is part 35. And there'll probably be a part 36, 37. The Mishnah said before, the name of Rabbi Eliezer, we're talking about warm yourself by the fire of the sages, but beware lest you be burnt by its embers, for the bite of a fox, sting of a scorpion, hiss is the hiss of a serpent. All their words are like fiery coals. So we've spoken the last few weeks about, again, you can have differences. Certainly rabbis can have differences in, case of Jewish philosophy and still be within, the guidelines of Torah. But as we mentioned, if you're outside those guidelines, even though we say 70 faces to Torah, now 70 faces to Torah means within certain guidelines, right? It's got to be within certain guidelines. In other words, there are different ways to look at things. Not everything is, I would say, so clear cut. Different ways to serve God. I mean, they're all legitimate if it's, within certain, within certain boundaries. But again, we mentioned about, heretics going outside those boundaries. But one very crucial thing, as we mentioned, the Gemara says this is totally forbidden, and this is how we poskin, according to Jewish law, and that is if you go to a rabbi for a certain psak, let's say, whatever it may be, laws of, blessing, Shabbos, kashrus, and you don't like what they say, right? Let's say, or I don't know, maybe it doesn't fit your world outlook or whatever. You want to go for a second opinion. Now, if the second opinion, or it comes out that the first opinion was wrong, right? Wrong over here means that they missed something egregious, right? They made a serious mistake. Then you have to get a second opinion. Not just it's a good idea, but you have to, right? There's an obligation because the first person answered wrongly, right? So, very good. But if the person gave the right answer, at least according to the way they see it, even if there's a difference of opinion among rabbinic authorities, that's it, right? You're not allowed to rabbi shop, right? As we have said, and I can almost promise you that nothing good will come out of it either way. That's, I've seen it, I've heard it, many people, I shouldn't say many, there are people, let's say, that have done it, right? That have absolutely done it, and it's been disastrous, right? Makes sense, right? Because again, this is something, right? This is something that's not allowed, right? Makes perfect sense. In other words, you are, you're looking for something that you got your answer. Because you got your answer, unless it's, unless the person makes an egregious mistake, then you're allowed, right? Then you would be allowed to get a second opinion, right? But otherwise, unless, it's found out that the person's a heretic or something like that, it's a different issue, right? The person can ask, okay, so how do I know? So good, person can ask. Person can ask the question, right? Then go to someone, ask, is this legitimate? Is this a, legitimate reason or not a legitimate reason or, whatever it may be. So, hopefully you ask the right person, you get the right answer. But, as we said, not liking someone's answer doesn't mean it's not right. Could very well be true. As I mentioned before, as someone used to ask me questions, I don't take their questions anymore. Because they say, oh, but this rabbi says like this. Or someone else says like that. Okay, so there can be differences of opinion, right, in Jewish law. Certainly can be. Okay. So then, if you know there's another opinion, why are you asking my opinion? Right? Very simple. If you know what's out there, you don't say, oh, how does he hold? Does he go this way or go that way? Well, then the person says, well, he must have gone the other way. So why'd he go the other way? Right? So why are you asking the question? Right? You're just asking to ask? We're not. So if someone wants an answer, I'll give an answer. Right? And 99% of the time, it's not my answer. Right? It's usually what other greater people have said. I'm not going to, if I say something in my own opinion, I'll say it. I'll say, this is my opinion. Right? You can take it what it's worth. You can take it with a grain of salt. This is what I think about this. Okay. Right? But if it's something, yes, no, is this permissible? It's not permissible, this, that. So, hopefully I'll have what to say. Right? Or my rabbis have told me, and they can disagree with them. Because, unless it's something very explicit, right? I'm going to go according to how they held. Right? Usually never say anything on my own. And if I do, I'll tell people, this is my opinion. Right? You can take it, you can take it for what it's worth. Right? So, enough about that. We spoke about that quite a bit. So now, what does the Mishna say? The Mishna says, their bite is the bite of a fox, their sting is sting of a scorpion. His is of a serpent. All the words are like fiery coals. Now, there's an obvious question. Well, what's talking about here? Why, so graphic? Bite is bite of a fox. What's the difference between a bite of a fox, sting of a scorpion? Right, sting of a scorpion, you'll die. Right? Why it's permissible even on Shabbos. A person saw a scorpion, you could kill it. You don't even have to trap it. Right? You can absolutely kill it because if it stings, it's deadly. Right? Or a snake, same thing. Right? They're poisonous snakes. They bite. That's it. Right? So what's the difference? What's the difference between the bite of a fox and over here, sting of a scorpion? So a fox, commentaries tell us that what their bite is hard to recover from. Now, if a fox bites, why is it so hard to recover? Because its teeth are thin, right? Teeth are not so thick, but the teeth are thin, they're sharp, or as we say in Boston, they're wicked sharp, right? They're very sharp, and they're crooked even better. They're thin, they're sharp, they're crooked. Okay. So what does that do? What does it have the potential to do? That if they bite, since the teeth are thin, so they get into, into areas that are small, they're sharp and they're crooked. So therefore, they don't bite straight down. They bite, let's say, I don't know, like at an angle. They bite at some sort of an angle. And their bite is extremely sharp. So a doctor, in order to fix this wound, right, from a bite of a fox, what does the doctor have to do? Needs to cut the flesh with a knife to widen the bite to heal it. In other words, the bite itself, painful enough, but in order for it to heal, since it came at an angle, right, let's say, or whatever, it came crooked, but it's very sharp, so therefore it hit at a certain angle. So the fact, we won't get gross here, but the fact that it hit at a certain angle, the only way to heal it is to spread it, is to open it, right? Or let's say better, to cut it in order to widen the bite, because that's going to allow it to heal. Because if it's at an angle, right, if the bite is at an angle, it'll take longer to heal. Right? It certainly should take longer to heal because it's not straight. Right? Normally a person, I don't know, let's say they get a bite, on their hand, their leg, whatever it may be. So usually if the bite goes straight in, it's straight. So, you can deal with healing for what it is, by the way it is. If it's done at an angle, right, let's say, and again, teeth are razor sharp, it's done at an angle, can't heal normally. Why? Because again, it's not gonna the blood's not gonna congeal. It's not gonna heal the right way. Why won't it? Think about it. If a person had a cut at an angle, right? It's not gonna heal the same way as it would if it was straight. So therefore, what does the doctor have to do? Doctor needs to cut the flesh, right? He needs to cut the flesh with a knife in order, sort of, let's say, to make it square, right? To lengthen it, or let's say better, widen it, so it looks more, I guess, even. I guess that's the point here. The fact that it'll be even, and that's going to be easier to heal, right? Meaning that even though it happened in this way, you're going to be in more pain. Bad enough you got bit over here, but you're going to be in worse pain because in order to heal, it's going to be even. So if it's at an angle, what does the doctor have to come and do? He's going to cut the flesh, right? He's going to come and cut the flesh. And by cutting the flesh, what's it going to do? Make it even, okay? So it's going to hurt more, but in the end, it's going to heal, right? So this means, in general, it's going to take longer to heal, right? So that's one thing, right? It's going to take longer to heal. So what's that talking about? That's talking about the bite of a fox. Yeah, a rabbi's bite can be this way, also can sting badly. Now, anyone's been on the receiving end, of, let's say, a rabbi said something, hit them right between the eyes, so to speak. They understand rebuke can be harsh. Now, they're not doing it in a way where they want to embarrass someone in general, or they want to make fun of someone, but their bite is strong. As we say, you don't mess. If a person, let's say, now we're getting closer to the fast of the 9th of Av, right, coming up in a few days. What was the temple destroyed for? Sinas Chinam, right, unlawful hatred, between Jews, speaking Lashon Hara badly against others. So if a person Jew spoke against another Jew, it's bad, right? More than 30 prohibitions in one shot. A person spoke badly against a rabbi, let's say, yeah, and we're talking about where, they didn't make a mistake. They didn't say something egregiously wrong. They make fun of him anyway. I don't know. They don't like the way he speaks too long. It doesn't speak so relevant. I don't know. Whatever the claim, whatever the claim may be. That's worse. It's 10 times worse. And it makes sense. Why? Because they represent, or should represent, what the Torah is. Gemara says, in a number of places, Gemara says that these stupid Babylonians, not my language, stupid Babylonians stand up for a Sefer Torah. They will stand up for a Torah scroll, which you got an obligation to. When you see a Torah scroll come in the room, or the ark is open, or whatever, but they won't stand up for somebody that represents the Torah. In other words, the Torah scholar, again, I'm not talking about the greatest rabbi generation, but, proper Torah scholar. They walk in a room, person should stand, right? That is showing respect for what they know, right? I heard someone once say, oh, this rabbi walks in, it's like the part in the Red Sea, right? It's like parting in the sea, people stand up, whatever, so people say, oh, that's idolatry. No. Why is it not idolatry? Because they're not worshiping the person. What are they worshiping technically? The Torah that they know. That's a different issue. Right? They're respecting the hours and days and nights and weeks and years of learning Torah. That in and of itself deserves respect. Right? No question. Now, even if you tell me whatever level their rabbinic ordination is, it doesn't really matter. Right? We're not going to go there. We've spoken about that. Even so, so Someone has rabbinic ordination, should be respected. Right? They worked hard for it. Why not? Someone's got a PhD, pilot higher and deeper, or Papa has dough. Don't people respect that a ton? Sure. But that's only like one aspect of one topic. Right? It's like 10% of a topic that they know. No, you got to tell me, you got to take orals, and it takes a long time, and they write a 100-page paper and this and that. Okay. Right? I'm not going to push that aside. That is worth something. Right? There's no question. But imagine, my specialty was World War II. History. So imagine somebody got a PhD and the socioeconomic rise of the Third Reich between the years 1933 1939. Yeah. Now, does that mean they know everything about World War II? No. Does that mean they know everything about the Third Reich? No. It means they know one aspect of one subject. Right? 10% of one subject, let's say. Of a huge subject. Very good. So they master that. Okay. Worth something. I'm not going to say not. Definitely is worth something. I mean, the respect I think people give it is, a lot more than should be, but okay. The work is there. But think about it. It's one aspect of one topic. Could be bigger aspect of the topic, could be a smaller aspect. People give it, a lot more credit than I think it deserves. But people will say, come on, person has a PhD, they got a PhD, it's got to be respected. Okay. Right? If you get someone who's been learning Torah for years and years, that Torah knowledge should be respected. Some people say there's no value in it. Right? And somebody once say, they looked at all my books and it's like, no one can ever learn all this. I was like, well, there are people that have and have mastered it. Yeah, my be included in that. But, one thing I wanted to say was, if you were to walk into a doctor's office and they had 3 bookcases full of books, would you ever make such a comment? No. Walked into a lawyer's office paying like $350 an hour. Yeah, if you're lucky. Yeah, you walk into a lawyer's office and see all these books of law. Yeah, bookcases of books of law. Would you ever say no one can learn all this? Or an accountant, you fill in the blank, whatever the person is, whatever bookcases they have. Of course, no one ever makes such a comment. Why? Because they respect them. They respect their knowledge. Right? They have tremendous amount of respect. Oh, for Torah? Torah they can make fun of. Oh, it doesn't do anything for the world. They're sitting back learning all these ancient books. Right? Even though the Mishna Pirke Avos, we said at the very beginning, 3 things uphold the world. Torah, avoid the Gimel Chasadim. Right? Chesed, Gimel Chasadim, acts of loving kindness. Avoid the service in the temple. Right? Or prayer. And Torah. So imagine if at any second of any day there's no Torah learning. The world goes back, Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. Tov, Avo. Right? Goes back to that chaos. It's kind of the back of that Led Zeppelin album. Anyone knows what I'm talking about? Chaos. You don't have a world. Torah upholds the world. Right? The question is, do people really believe it? Right? One of the things the person's going to be asked, I already mentioned this week, in the parts talking about Tisha B'Av, and fast the 9th of Av, and talking about the coming of the Messiah. So one of the questions the person's going to get asked is, were you after you die, let's say better, were you waiting for the coming of the Messiah? So you'll say it's one of the 13 principles of faith. Of course I was waiting. Now what does it mean to wait? So, maybe heard from Cheskel Abramsky, who blessed the memory. He was the outbased in the head of the basin in London years ago, and then he came to the land of Israel at the end of his life. One of the Torah giants of the last generation. Right? No question. So he said, what does it mean? What does it mean to wait? What it means to wait is you have an appointment with somebody. They're supposed to be coming 9 o'clock. Right? 9 a.m. We'll make it easy. 9 in the morning. Very good. They're coming in the morning. You're expecting them to come. You're waiting. That's what it means. That's what it means. So most people would say, come on. What do you mean I don't believe in the coming of the Messiah? Of course I believe in the coming of the Messiah. Right? What is the person waiting like he's coming tomorrow at 9 a.m.? Or today at 9 a.m.? Or the next day at 9 a.m.? So too by Torah. People will say, oh yeah, I believe the power of Torah. You know, Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam is nothing more important, unless it's Pikuach Nefesh, unless it's saving a life. Then you close the Gemara, right? Then you close what you're learning. You do whatever it takes. Or even let's say there was a dead body. You had to bury it. Okay, no one else to bury it. Very good. You have to do it. You have to stop learning. There's certain things you stop learning for. But nothing more important than learning. Nothing more important than Torah. But I had someone tell me that, learning Torah is important, extremely important. You know what? It's also a mitzvah to do the army. We're not going to go into the issue. But they said, if you're going to go to a different yeshiva, make sure it's Zionistic. So I asked him, very simple. If I have the opportunity to finish Shas, to go through the entire Talmud, all the commentaries, or a lot of the commentaries, let's say, I don't have livelihood issues, all things being equal, I got the ability. Should I stop? From living in Israel, should I stop and go to the army? And this person said, no question, you should stop and do the army. Now, tell you a story. Rabbi Akiva, Gemara says, came to his house after being away for 12 years, had all these students with him, and he overhears outside the door, his wife says, if my husband had come back now, I'd send him back. Send him back to the base medrash, go learn. So Rabbi Akiva turns around, and he comes back, and he goes back to learn for another 12 years. Right? So 24 years he learned. Very good. What's the obvious question? Commentaries ask, why didn't he go in? Why didn't he say hello to his wife and kids? After all, he's gone for 12 years. You're not going to go back and say hello. They have a karas hatov, have gratitude, to his wife. Everything she's given him and her kids and his kids and all that. So what's the answer? The answer is, he wouldn't have been the same Rabbi Akiva. Why? Because 12 and 12, you do the math, does not equal 24. Similar case of a person, let's say, studying for a test. They study for 2 hours, but really, they studied for 40 minutes, took a 10-minute break. Studied another 40 minutes, took a 10-minute break, and then another 20 minutes. Well, that's not 2 hours. They say, I studied for 2 hours. Not true. I mean, maybe if you add up all the time, maybe you get to 2 hours. Yeah? But the reality is, in those 2 hours, they studied for what? They studied for 2 hours, less 40 minutes, less 50 minutes, less 10 minutes. They didn't study the full time. So if you're not studying the full time, it's not the same. Right? In other words, if a person's studying for 2 hours, studying for 2 hours. No breaks. 2 hours is 2 hours. So by Rabbi Akiva, same thing. Rabbi Akiva wouldn't have been the same. He took a break. It's got to be constant. Again, it's going to be 2.5 weeks now. Shiva students are going to be free, right? Intercession. But, they should also be learning. Not going to be learning as much as they do. Maybe they need a break. Okay. To a certain extent. To rejuvenate. But what's the reality? The reality is you're always going to be in. You're always going to be in what you're learning. No such thing as, you're just taking a break. Take a break from learning. What should I do? Take a break from Judaism? Just like for the next 2.5 weeks, person's going to do whatever they want. They're not going to learn. Not going to pray. They're not going to do other things. What do you mean? It's no break. Right? No such thing as a break, so to speak. So you say, okay, there's some people, okay, they'll go to a little bit lighter schedule than they normally do during the year. Doesn't mean, it's a free for all, do whatever you want. That's not what it means. Right? And some people would say you should do away with it. Because a lot of it's wasted time. My Rebbe would say in the Shiva he grew up, when he went, they went till right before Passover. They never break. They never break in Nisan, the month of Nisan, for 2 weeks. They went straight. So Rebbe would say, what determines greatness of a person? There are a lot of Loim Dei Torah, people who learn Torah. A lot of them. But you find very few we call B'nai Torah. What's the difference? Because if a person learns only when they're obligated to learn, right? Someone goes to yeshiva, they have set times to learn. Let's say 9 to 1, 3 to 7, and then let's say, 8:30, 10:30, whatever. Right? They have a full day, very good. But they only learn during those times. What about other times? What about other times they're free? You're only obligated to learn when you're free? Sorry, when you have a set schedule? The difference between people, what makes people learn it and people much more learn it. What's the difference? What's the difference in levels? The difference in levels, my Rebbe would say, is that you have people that learn even when no one else is learning. On Fridays, on Saturday nights, before festivals. Times when a lot of people don't necessarily learn. They're busy with other things. He says that's what makes a difference. Because come Shabbos, okay, a person will say, listen, I'm really tired. The person's going to sleep more than they normally do. Okay. There's what to be said for that special merit that a person gets for learning Torah on Shabbos. Right? It's no question. But a lot of time gets wasted. During the winter, for instance. Shabbos come in 4 o'clock, 4:30, something like that. Okay. So the time you sit down your meal, so let's say it's 5:30, 5:45, you'll be done by your meal before 7. Yeah, now you have a whole night. You have a whole night. So you're going to say you're more tired. You're going to go to sleep early. This. But again, a lot of time during this time is wasted. It's wasted. So imagine, my Rebbe would say, if a person learns when other people don't, that's the difference. One major difference. It's not a question how much they know. Or, if God gave them a huge brain or not. Right? It has nothing to do with that. They're learning at times other people don't. And when you do that, you have special siyata d'shmaya, special heavenly help. Because you're doing things, let's say, most people aren't. So you have that advantage, you're learning more. But again, Friday comes up once a week. Saturday comes up once a week. Those 2 days, people don't learn as much. Right? Yeshivas is different. They'll learn like a normal day. Right? At least till, I don't know, depending on the summer or the winter, till, to 1, to 12, whatever it is. Right? But, the time's not wasted. So it's easy, you tell me. Person will say, if they're not married, it's easier, there's less obligations. True. That's very true. Right? So, if a person has to help out in different things, okay. But, at the end of the day, just pointing out, these days get wasted. So think about it. It's 2 days a week. It's 2 days a week. 2 days a week, that's 8 days a month. That's 100, that's 100 days a year. 96, let's say. 96 days a year. 96 days a year, that's 3 months. It's as if to say a third of the year, a fourth of the year, a person didn't learn. A fourth of the year. It's a huge amount of time. Imagine how much a person can learn. Listen, there's an Yitzhar out there. There's evil inclination out there. If a person who works like a dog during the week, Shabbos, they crash. They can't stay out. Their body just won't allow them to stay out. So they say, find another job. Doesn't always work that way, right? A lot of times doesn't work that way. But, nonetheless, whatever a person can do. I'm just pointing out that there's a lot of time. There's a lot of time that this gets wasted. And that's the difference. It's one major difference, right? One major difference between someone who have a certain level of knowledge and someone who's not, right? Big difference, right? It's a big difference. So I would say the bottom line is, right? The bottom line is how bad a person wants it. That'll make the difference. That for sure will make the difference between someone who's great and someone who's well beyond. And you can have great people. I'm not saying not. You can definitely have great people. Even if they don't learn as much, on those days. But to have someone well beyond that, it's different. It's a different league, right? It's definitely a different league, right? So you can tell me, okay, person has to train themselves, work on themselves, a lot of things. Again, sometimes the body will just give up. The body needs rest. Okay, you can always learn something lighter. It's not uncommon. But a person wants to be the best in learning, let's say, at least for guys, can't take these times for granted. Right? Certainly not. Yeah. So, based on that, it's about what I do. A person, I heard from, or I read from Victor Miller's grandson, Yisrael Brog, should be well. And he's the head of yeshiva. And he was, one of the things to say once in the Parsha, he was telling his students, he said, I bet Shemon Esrei, silent meditation, whatever you want to call it, I bet you pray, livelihoods, pray for health, you pray for your family, you pray for this, you pray for that, right? A lot of things a person needs, very good. Why don't you pray to become a great rabbinic scholar? Why don't you ask God to help you, gain more knowledge, overcome your evil inclination, different things? But the main thing he was harping on is, why don't you pray for greatness in learning? That God should help you in learning. He says, how many people pray for that? What's the answer? What would be the obvious answer? Person doesn't want. I can say, come on. Person's learning. The whole point to learn is, not just to gain knowledge, but, to make it part of you, to change for the better. Person doesn't want greatest gift of all, right? His knowledge, we pray for every day. Fourth blessing of the Shemon Esrei. We pray that God should give us knowledge. Now, if I don't pray for knowledge, it means we're stupid. It's talking about spiritual knowledge. We want to have the desire not to get burnt out. We want spiritual knowledge. How many people want spiritual knowledge? Say, a lot of people. There's a lot of people out there. Desire to have this knowledge. They don't know where to get the knowledge, most people. Where do I get the knowledge from? Very good. So then, person has to find someone to learn under or whatever. It's a different issue. That's probably the main issue, where to find knowledge. Where to get it from. Right? I'm saying somebody who knows. So if somebody really knows, why don't they ask for it? Why don't they ask God to help them in that respect? I mean, it's a sad conclusion. You ask for spiritual knowledge, very good. When you say Shemon Esrei, but it's a drop in the bucket. Because you ask the person, when you said that blessing, what do you have in mind? We say it every day, except on Shabbos or festivals. Right? We say it every day. So what does the person have in mind? What spiritual knowledge do you have in mind? So you say Torah. I want to have the desire to learn Torah. Good. Isn't it easy to get burnt out if you've learned for a long time? Sure. But if you got the geschmack, if you got the sweetness of it, you won't get burnt out. Shouldn't get burnt out. Right? As long as the person stays focused and other things, okay. But he's asking a fundamental question. Why don't you pray for it? And what's the sad answer? The sad answer is people don't want it. It's hard work. Yeah, I'm here. I pray. I learn. Very good. But to go beyond that, go beyond what I should do. Like someone once told me, 18-year-old kid tells me, Rabbi, you don't have to give me mussar. You don't have to give me ethics. I'm holding better than 90% of world Jewry, right? 95% of world Jewry. I said, let's say I agree. Let's say for argument's sake, I agree. What if God doesn't agree? What if you have greater potential? If you have greater potential, God's not going to ask you after you die, after 120 years, you're going to say, look at all I did. I want all the reward for what I did because I was holding better than 95% of world Jewry. So God will say, very good. Let's say it's true. Let's say God agrees. You're holding better than 95% of world Jewry. Okay. But you're living in Sodom. If you're living in Sodom, you say, I'm better than 95% of the people who live in Sodom. Yeah? Well, what does that tell you? It doesn't mean anything. It means you're in the cream puff generation, so you're holding better than them. Okay. Doesn't say anything. You could have much greater potential. That's one of the knocks against Noah. That says Noah was great in his generations. What do you mean his generations? Meaning, had he been in a greater generation, or Abraham's generation, let's say, he wouldn't have been considered as much. He was only great according to his generation. He's a prophet, this and that, kind of hard to understand at a certain level, but let's say he would only been great in his generation. So to knock against him, he had greater potential. Could have much greater potential. So the greater potential, had it been another generation, sure, it would have been bigger. It would have been greater. But it's only according to his generation. So to knock against him. Right? Again, in our everyday language, that's like saying, I'm holding better than 95% of the people live in Sodom. Or live anywhere where, all the values are gone and all that. What are you comparing to? God's not going to ask you about your generation, this and that. He's going to ask you, you had potential. Whatever that potential was. So God could say, you know what? You wanted to rest on your laurels. You were happy being mediocre. God said, I'm not interested in mediocre. I want to squeeze people for them to be the best they can be. Imagine. I had somebody once say, I'm good. What does that mean they're good? They're happy being mediocre. Go to a job interview like that. Do you have any good, why should we hire you? I don't know. I have mediocre qualities. I only do things mediocre. I write mediocre. I analyze mediocre. In sales, I'm only mediocre. They're not going to hire you. It shouldn't. It'd be a big mistake. Yeah, similar thing. Similar thing. A person's hired, is happy being, being as good as that generation, or being, let's say better, being good in a generation of a bunch of nobodies and nothings, and people holding nowhere in the world spiritually. Oh, I'm at the top of that. Great. You're at the top of the cesspool. Everyone else is drowning or drowned. So you're at the top of the cesspool. Very good. What's going to help you? If you have greater potential, you're toast. If you don't know anything, you grew up as a potato farmer in Idaho. No offense, anyone's a potato farmer, grew up in Idaho. You grew up knowing nothing about Torah, nothing about nothing. Okay. That's one thing. But if you already know, right, and this could get you burnt. right? If you already know, then you're in more serious trouble. Just like Korban Aaron says in the book of Leviticus, talking about Nadav and Avihu, and the sin of Nadav and Avihu, a lot of different reasons potentially why they died. So what does the Korban Aaron say? Korban Aaron says when you're close to the king, you could get burnt. And they were very close to the King of Kings. So even something they did even for the sake of having God took them. Because if, let's say, person's vice president, and, the mail carrier does something wrong, got one of his lackeys take care of it. Right? No big deal. Unless it's like seen in the front to the king. But if the assistant to the king, the vice president, let's say, right, he's second in command, he does something wrong, even if it wasn't so egregious, king's like, well, you got greater expectations. You look better without a head. Comes with greater responsibility. Right? There's no question. You got greater responsibility. So Jews have greater responsibility. Whether they know more or less, it doesn't matter. But if they know more, they're held more accountable. Very simple. Held much more accountable. If they didn't know anything, they'll still be held accountable. Lose their portion of the world to come. They could intermarry to other things that are very severe. You can't say, well, ignorance is bliss. For some things, maybe. They'll be cut some slack, let's say. But for a lot of things, they're in serious trouble. Right? So if a person knows better, right, what could the King of Kings say? That's how you serve me? But you say, come on, I lived in this cream puff generation. What do you expect? What do you mean? You have greater knowledge. Can't rest on your laurels. Look at what's going on around you. Look what you did. Keep Torah, keep mitzvahs. Or at least you try to the best of your ability. Very good. So that's what you're doing. So you know better. You're better off than these other people. How can you rest on your laurels? How can a person say, look at the rest of the generation compared to me? Because that's what God's going to say. But Baruch Ber, a blessed memory, Baruch Ber Leibowitz, who is the head of the yeshiva in Kamenetz, said on himself, he said, I strive to be Rebbe Akiva Eger. I wanted to be as great as Rebbe Akiva Eger. But I ended up with Baruch Ber. He said, had I strived to be Baruch Ber, wouldn't have been anything. So my Rebbe would say, you got to shoot for the moon, right? If you think small, you'll end up small. If you think big, you may not end up big, but you won't end up small. But you're going to have big dreams. Doesn't mean that you're going to accomplish what you set out to accomplish. Many things can stop a person. Okay, right? But he said if you think small, you'll be small. It's clear you'll be small because you're thinking on a small scale. But on a bigger scale, on a bigger scale, different issue. I mean, you're going to get there, though. It doesn't mean you're going to get there. But it's good to have dreams. 100% it's good to have dreams. Someone says, all right, we'll take some questions here. Someone says, it's a little bit confusing, studying all the time. People come and say I do it too much. What do you care what people say? Doesn't matter what people say. You got to do what's good in God's eyes, regardless of what people say. Yeah? The purpose of learning is to be a better person. Purpose of prayer is to be close to God. Yeah? So someone asks, well, asking for more knowledge, is that recommended? Sure. We want to have spiritual knowledge. What does spiritual knowledge mean? It means getting close to God. It's not like an academic subject. It's not like I'm learning just because I want to be called rabbi or be called smart or whatever. You're learning because it's the will of God to draw close to Him. And He gave us a book to do it. It's called the Torah. He gave it to Moses, passed it down to us. Yeah? So regardless of what other people are going to say, I had somebody once say, parents said, is there more than just, studying Torah, being close to God? So you know what the answer is? No. There's nothing more important. Right? Again, if it's pikuach nefesh, it's saving a life, okay? You shut the Gemara, you go do what you need to do, whatever it is. You stop your learning. But everything we do has the potential to draw closer to God, everything I'm learning. The person has fixed times to learn, you learn as much as you can, that's what you should do. Women have less of an obligation, but they can also learn, it's not a problem. Right? It's certainly not a problem. So what other people say, who cares? Right? You're going to lose friends along the way, this journey, no question. But they're going to take you down. Because they're going to make you think. They're going to say, oh, see, what do you need to learn anyway? You're going to be behind the machitza. They're not going to take you seriously anyway. There's that. You still have to learn. You still have to keep mitzvahs. Still can't speak Lashon Hara. You got to be the best you can be. Other people bring you down. And it makes sense. Because that's what they want to do. They want to make you, quote unquote, normal. Why do you have to study so much? Why do you have to do this? Why do you have, People will say it. And then a person will think, well, maybe I should be doing this. Maybe, even if they enjoy it, they'll start to question, well, maybe they're right. Maybe I should have more of a connection to them. I should compromise a little bit. That's the worst thing a person can do. Because the bottom line is you want to be in a place where you're surrounded by people that think like you. At the end of the day, people will claim and they'll say, you're so close-minded, this and that. You're right, we are. Right? I'm not going to go away from that. That's true. I'm not going to live in a place where people have diverse values or perverted values. Now, if a person, goes out to the middle of nowhere, wants to draw people closer to Torah, okay, that's a different issue. That's still, you got to be careful. But, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about someone who's going to, live amongst Jews. You live in a Jewish community. You live around people who think like you do. You ever hear a secular Jew want to live amongst Orthodox Jews? Never. Right? In general, they won't do it. Why not? They want people to think like them. Or at least act like them or whatever. They want to be around Orthodox Jews. That was, someone had said to me a number of years ago, how many secular Jews you hang out with? I was like, not too many. It's only none of my neighborhood. The only, secular Jews I'll see are in, working in different places, whatever it may be. That'll be my connection. But I should have said, and this is really the right answer, how many Orthodox Jews, do you hang out with? That's really the answer. You can say, oh, you don't hang out with people that don't think like you, and you don't either. It goes both ways. Right? That's a very simple answer. Goes both ways. 100% it goes both ways. But they'll try and make you feel bad. They'll say, oh, see? You're closed-minded. You won't be around people that don't think like you. In general, that's true. Because you want to grow. You want to go in a certain direction. Other people don't want to go in that direction. Okay. That's their choice. But who says I have to live amongst them? Who says I should live amongst them? The Rambam says clear that if you're in a place, that has, that is no Torah, and, the bad people around, you move even to the desert. You go even in the middle of nowhere. But the Rambam says another place, you can't live in the middle of nowhere, right? One of the 24 things stop a person from repentance, and that is separating from the community. Very good. Yeah, it doesn't matter. In this case, if that's the only place to go, then that's where you go. Because the outer influences are bad. Now, people say you live in a community, you're not totally closed off. You have other people living there, Jews, non-Jews, whatever. True. Very, very true. So you do what you can do, right? But if you live amongst the community, that's obviously better. That you're going to be around people who think like you. People say that's chauvinistic, that's bigot, that's it. Doesn't matter. No matter what people say, I'll tell you what the bottom line is, right? If a person's married, they have kids, they want to be in a place that's going to help them grow the best spiritually. You're not going to raise them in a toilet. You're not going to do that. Right? I mean, if you do, then however kids come out, your own fault. Right? Person sends them, different types of schools and different things. Got to live amongst Jews that have those values. That's the point, is that they have the same core values. Right? And secular people are not going to live amongst Orthodox Jews. They have their own stereotypes, doesn't matter. But why aren't they going to live amongst them? Next thing you know, they'll start walking off the street. We can't drive, and they're going to make the women shave their heads. That's what they think. But they don't have the same values. They don't want the same values. Maybe some of them, I don't know, but they don't want the values. So secular Jews are not going to live amongst Orthodox Jews. It goes both ways. So someone ever says, oh, you don't hang out with, secular people. How many Orthodox Jews do you hang out with? That's the answer. That is the answer. Because they're no different on their end. So you're exclusionary. You don't hang out with people who don't think like you. Oh, yeah? And you do? You have all these friends that don't think like you? Okay. You can have a diverse group of people that you hang out with. But someone who's diametrically opposed to what you believe in, you're going to hang out with them? You might have to live amongst them. Okay. That's different. But you're going to they're going to be part of your inner circle? They're going to be close to you? I don't think so. I don't think so. I heard people talk, living in a certain area. Oh, yeah, it's more blue than red, Republican than, or Democratic more than Republican, whatever. Right? People want to live in areas where people like them think. They don't want people to think like me. They don't want to live in a community like that. They don't want it. They want to be free. They don't be judged. They're this, whatever. But they're just as close-minded. Just as close-minded. As I've said many times, in the last 32 years, I think I met one person that was intellectually honest. Everyone else had their own things and this and that. One person intellectually honest. This person told me more than 30 years ago, if I look into Judaism, they were married to a non-Jew. If I look into Judaism and I find out it's true and I have to change, I'm not willing to do it. I'm not going to change. So therefore, I'm not going to look into it. Okay. It's a reasonable approach. But that person's honest. Everyone else will say, come on, it's Webster's fifth definition, eighth definition, this, that. They make all kinds of claims that don't make any sense. Right? In the long run, in the short run, they don't make any sense. This person was honest. Totally honest. Everyone else, whatever they believe in, they believe it. And I think this, and I think that. Okay. Let them think what they want. Doesn't mean it's true at all. Oh, you looked up, Talmud says on that, what the Gemara says on that. Right? The Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law says on that. No, it's what I think. Okay, you have any proof? Doesn't matter. It's what's in my heart. Right? The cardiac Jew. It's what's in my heart. It's what my heart tells me. Yeah, maybe heart's biased. Don't we say in the Shema, don't go after your heart or after your eyes? Applies to men and women. Don't go astray. Don't let your heart lead you astray. Don't let your eyes lead you astray. But that's what I think. Okay. It's like talking to a brick. Fine. That's what you think. Based on what my heart tells me. What does your heart tell you? Yeah, your heart can change. Because according to that, morality is relative. So morality is relative and it changes, so what? So today you think like this, tomorrow you think like that. The next day you'll think like something else. Okay. It's your choice. But it's deceiving. Because what was forbidden in my parents' generation 40, 50 years ago, or 60 years ago or more, today it becomes a mitzvah. It's not even thought of. Not even thought of. They'll think they were backwards, they were this, they were that. It's a totally different generation. Totally different generation. Somebody asks, do I think Mashiach will rebuke the tradition of the rabbis? Nope. Why not? Very simple. Because when the Messiah comes, he's not going to deny the Torah. Can't go against the Torah. Right? The Torah says you can't add and subtract to the Torah, right? Book of Deuteronomy. So he can't get rid of mitzvahs. Right? Anyone who's going to do that is going to be a false prophet, even if he does miracles. Now, certain things the Messiah has to do. We've spoken about that. But the point is he's not going to go against the rabbis. Certainly not. Right? Because God gave power to the rabbis. Because the Torah says, look at Deuteronomy, you listen to the Kohen and the Levite in every generation. Whatever they say, left is right, right is left. You listen to them, otherwise death penalty. So if the Kohen and the Levite were the ones who taught Torah to the Jewish people, so we're talking about the rabbis, right? Future rabbi is going to teach Torah to the Jewish people. Very good. Can't come out against them. God's not going to bring a Messiah to nullify them. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense why I would. Right? So someone may say, well, we'll go back to what the Torah said. So again, there are plenty of things that the Torah said that don't have any explanation. You gotta remember the lot of details the Torah doesn't give me. So, Torah tells me I have to sit in a sukkah. Right? Leviticus chapter 23. Torah says you have to sit in a sukkah. Very good. So what does that mean? What does the sukkah look like? Does it have walls? How many walls? Does it have a roof? Torah doesn't give me definitions. Right? How do we get definitions? That's where the rabbis for. To explain what it means. But those explanations also given to Moses at Mount Sinai, because it's an obvious question. 40 years Moses teaching Torah to the Jewish people. Now, there's 613 commandments. Very good. Now, if there were 3 million people, let's say, give or take, that were there at Mount Sinai, how long would it take within 40 years to teach 613 commandments? Now, let's say he had to train 1,000 people. Let's say Moses had to train 1,000 people. How long is it going to take to train 1,000 people and have them teach the nation 613 commandments? 5 years? 10 years? How long could it possibly take? 15 years? Maybe. I don't even think that long. So if he's in the desert 40 years teaching Torah, what's he teaching them? He can't be teaching them just the 613 commandments. Because then it would have been done. You say, oh, they're doing a review. They kept reviewing until they knew. I don't know, 40 years review? You had to be teaching details. Right? The crux of the issue of all the details. What all these laws meant. So you have to have oral law. You have to have all these opinions. God had to give it to him. Right? He had to be teaching them. Otherwise, what's he teaching them for 40 years? Someone asked, state of Louisiana in the U.S. is making it a law to have 10 commandments on the wall in public spaces. Okay, I don't think it's a bad thing. People say separation of church and state. But the people know the basic laws, basic 10 commandments. Yeah, not gonna hold by it. Because you got the majority of people who are idol worshippers. Right? You're gonna say, don't bow down to an idol. Don't bow down to a statue, this and that. Well, what do you do with all the Christians? Put up the 10 commandments, yeah? I'm sure they'll be ecstatic. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. Other people might. Why not? If it gets people to think about it, whatever, maybe. Right? I don't think it's an issue with, it would be an issue with separation of church and state. The fact that people should know what they are. Why not? Why not? They didn't follow the 613 in the wilderness. Well, what exactly did they do in the wilderness? They were not circumcised. So what? Doesn't mean they can't follow the commandments. Certain things they couldn't do. You're right. Couldn't eat a Paschal offering because they weren't circumcised. And they were not circumcised. Good. What else couldn't they do? What other mitzvahs couldn't they do? Right, but until Mount Sinai, the whole question, were they Jews, were they Noahites? But after Mount Sinai, they're all Jews. So if they're all Jews, then they're keeping Torah, no? That's what they should be doing if they're in the desert. You have the case of Salofchot was the one who picked up sticks or whatever, got condemned to death for desecration of Shabbos. Well, the whole question, they were only supposed to observe Shabbos technically, really, until they got into the land. But he wanted to show, even outside the land of Israel, the laws of Shabbos are very severe, to the point where he got death penalty. So you see, they kept it. Circumcision doesn't matter in this case. They have to be circumcised, okay. Certain things maybe they can't do if they're not circumcised. Fine. What happened after Mount Sinai? After Mount Sinai, they have stats converts. Yeah, they weren't circumcised after Mount Sinai. They're in the desert 40 years. What are they, You have the story of Moshe Rabbeinu. Seemingly, he was at the inn and, taking care of other needs when he sort of circumcised his child. Okay, it's still before giving him the Torah Mount Sinai, but his wife did the milah. His wife did circumcision. Right? They did circumcision. Or sorry, she did circumcision. So who says people in the desert weren't circumcised? Right? There are cases where it's, in case of Moshe that could have been considered dangerous, circumcised, when he went and whatever. But let's say that wasn't the case. It wasn't circumcised. People should have been circumcised, right? Again, you have certain things, even, if a person's uncircumcised, can't do. Can't eat a Paschal offering, that's one. But all the other mitzvahs, I wouldn't say that. Right? Never wouldn't say that. Yeah, so you're commanded to do this, okay. Yeah, I don't know what that proves. Yeah, it's going to be good for you. Very good. Yeah, it will be good for you. You keep the Torah mitzvahs, you'll have a portion of the world to come. Very good. Yeah, and if not, you'll be punished. It's reward and punishment. It's no question. All right? Someone here says, Zohar says, if I remember correctly, they all became builders after Sinai. Again, Mount Sinai is a crucial point. Yeah. So Mount Sinai, okay. So who says they're not keeping Torah after Mount Sinai? There are certain things. There are certain things you can't do if you're not circumcised. Okay. There's a question if full circumcision wasn't done. Let's say partial circumcision was done. Okay. So that's the question. Does the person have stats of a Jew or not? Right? That's a different issue. We're not talking about that. After Sinai, they're commanded. They have all the obligations. So sacrifices were given, other things were done, right? When they went into the land, very good. Yeah, but the commandments are given. See, if you want to tell me certain things they can't do because they're not circumcised, okay. Right? I don't have a problem with that. It's true. You want to tell me all 613 they couldn't do? So we don't believe that after Mount Sinai, no one was circumcised. That's a little bit far-fetched. Well, tell me, some people, this, that, okay. But everybody, nobody could keep any commandments in the desert? Because nobody was circumcised? That's a big stretch. Very, very big stretch. Right? Was Shem circumcised? I don't know. I would assume. But if he was a non-Jew and he wasn't a Jew, then he didn't need to be circumcised. Right? There is a question, the children of Keturah, do they have to be circumcised? That's the whole question. But even if, right? But again, Shem had a yeshiva, right? It's where Yaakov learned 14 years, Medrash says. Okay. Right? So, if you want to tell me, he had stats of Jew at that point, should he have been circumcised? Yeah, probably. I would assume so. And then, do non-Jews in general need to be circumcised? No. Some will do it for health reasons, but they don't have to be circumcised. Right? If a non-Jew has Torah, right, we don't believe them. But, if they know the laws themselves, what they have to keep, okay. Okay. Everyone died in the desert. Not everybody. There's a whole generation that went into the land. Yeah. That generation died out. Very good. Right? That generation died out. There was nobody else left. You want to tell me only Joshua and Caleb ben Yehuda? Okay, they're the ones survived from the spies. Very good. That's true. No one else went into the land? I mean, read the beginning of the book of Joshua, Jewish people went in. How many? Only two? Only two people crossed the Jordan? I don't think so. I don't think so. The 40 years, yeah, a lot of people died. That's true. That generation died out. But what about the generation after them? They had kids and grandkids, right? Great grandkids. So if they did, that generation didn't die out. The first generation died out. Yeah, someone here says best hours meant full-time mental commitment, right? I'll go and find time to learn Torah. Still have an obligation. Even if a person, works a hard job, whatever it may be, certainly for a guy, he's got to still have fixed time to learn. So what some people do is they learn early in the morning before they pray, or right before they pray, before they go to work. They learn, maybe they learn during a lunch break, maybe they learn at night, but they have an obligation to have fixed time to learn. You're right, it's hard, but a guy still has an obligation to learn, have fixed times to learn. You're right, it's a grueling day. Definitely a grueling day. But, there are people who find time to learn. If a person doesn't learn, they don't have fixed times to learn, they'll be ignorant, totally ignorant. They won't know what to do. They'll know basic laws, that's it. They won't know more than that. Totally won't know more than that. Someone here says that it was forbidden for non-Jew to learn Torah. Yeah, but you see that Noah, when he put in all the animals in, he said these are the pure animals, not pure animals. Rashi says there, how did he know? I didn't know which animals were pure or not. Rashi says there because he learned Torah. Very good. How did he learn? Noah wasn't Jewish. But what Torah did he know? Right? So everyone brings down from there, he learned Torah that he had to know. Right? It's only a non-Jew can learn Torah for the sake of knowing laws. How in depth? They can't go as depth as a Jew, but they can certainly learn what applies to them. No one says not. Right? Can a non-Jew, can a non-Jew keep Shabbos? No. Can they keep it like a Jew? No. Can they, if they're in the process of conversion? So they could keep Shabbos. They have to do something on purpose to break it. Right? No question. Someone says, why can they have 10 things written on the wall? Won't they start to learn Torah with the help of heaven? Why? Why? It's so obvious in the world that there's a God and he wants us to serve him. So how come the majority of the world either serves idols, which they do, and they don't come to Torah mitzvahs? Who's coming to Torah mitzvahs? You want to say all the non-Jews are going to come to Torah mitzvahs? Never going to happen. That's never going to happen. Some of them might. Some of them might, and if they do, great. So let them come to Torah mitzvahs. Yeah, but if they're going to learn Torah, they're going to have to learn what they're allowed to learn, what they're not allowed to learn. That's not an issue, right? Well, what we're so worried, people are going to come and learn how Avai Jews would learn. Forget about non-Jews. How Avai Jews would come and learn. 90% of the Jewish people don't know Aleph Beis. Yeah, they don't know the Aleph Beis. How Avai would spark them to learn? I'm worried. I should be worried. You put up the 10 Commandments, non-Jews are going to come and start to learn Torah. I don't think so. I find it very hard to believe. Very, very hard to believe. So non-Jews can learn what they need to learn for the sake of the Noahide laws. Right? That's not learning in depth. Not allowed to learn in depth like a Jew, no question. But they are allowed to learn things that apply to them. Right? That's for sure. Someone here says no Torah, no morality, right? You see people in the secular world being so confused, society is a mess, right? Torah makes a person better, right? They learn it right. Certainly if they learn it right. Right? It certainly will make them better, if nothing else. There might be truth in some things, right? But not full truth like Torah. Right? No question. Someone here says, interesting fact they learned was that when a person goes to the next world, the only thing they can bring with them is Torah. Right. Torah they learn, and charity. Right? They can't bring anything else. True? right? They also make the person speak words of different Torah for a certain amount of time. Yeah, Torah's gonna come and defend them, what they learned and what they did. That's true. That 100% is true. The issue is what they did with Torah. Did Torah impact their life? Torah should impact a person's life. It's not like mental gymnastics. It's not just like taking another academic subject. If a person learns Torah for the sake of just getting knowledge, but it doesn't affect their life, it's not Torah anymore. Right? And my Rebbe's Rebbe, Moshe Schneider, would say, a person learns Torah, can't learn it like a former student, like an ultra-Orthodox student. Can't. It's forbidden. 100% it's forbidden. Right? Can't learn it like an academic subject. Now, sometimes we get benefit from it and maybe we don't live it the way we should. Yeah, but that, a person's not learning it like an academic exercise. If a person's learning for the sake of Torah, it's a whole different thing. It should change the person who they are. Torah doesn't change a person. Again, yeah, that's a problem. Then it's going to be like an academic exercise, and that, according to everybody's bad. Right? That would certainly be bad. Somebody asks, what does it mean before Mashiach comes, the last stage of his coming, the children of Israel will be in the deserts? So I mentioned that last week. Either you take that literally, and that is, even if we're in the land now, it doesn't mean we'll be in the land then. It means the Jews will not be in the land, and that the Messiah is going to bring the Jewish people in the land. Now, it'd be kind of hard to imagine, only because we have been in the land for 2,000 years. We're in the land for the last 70 years. But again, it's no guarantee. Even though we have nuclear weapons, don't tell anyone. But, if you had a left-wing government, they could give half the land back or more, make it indefensible, and we get thrown out that way. Could happen. I mean, I don't foresee it happening. Right? I think that'd be a little bit far-fetched. But, I mean, could it happen? Sure. Being in the desert could be also... could also be, not taken literally. Yeah, being in the desert means a person can just be lost living in Israel, like most Jews, like just totally lost. They don't have a connection to the land, they don't have a connection to Torah mitzvahs. So even if they're in the land, it's not like they're here, which is worse, which is a lot worse, because if a person's doing terrible things, living outside the land, they're going to be held liable, no question. They'll for sure be held liable. If they're doing it in the land, it's worse. Whether they know more, they don't know more, doesn't matter, because you're in God's backyard. So my Rebbe would say, I'm not worried about Iran and all these other places. They can say and do what they want. What am I more worried about? People live in the land of Israel that sin. Because that, the Torah says clear. Torah says, you don't do what you're supposed to do, I can spit you out of the land. Now, before the Messiah comes, who's to say we're going to be in the land? The fact we're in the land now, okay. Yeah, you tell me it's a big miracle and what happened after the Holocaust, very good. The only problem is it doesn't guarantee, even when we're living in the Messianic era, which everyone agrees, even when we're living in the Messianic era, it doesn't mean we're going to stay here. Again, if you would ask me personally, bottom line, do you think the Jews are going to get spit out of the land? I would say no. Right? I don't foresee it happening. Right? According to what I see right now. But could it happen? Could happen. Yeah, the government wanted to give 95% of the West Bank to Arafat. Yamach Shalom V'Zichron. His name be blotted out, may rot wherever he is. Wanted to. They didn't take it. And if it would have taken it, it would have been a disaster. Would have been an absolute disaster for the Jewish people. We would have been, one of the main reason they took it over is because they kept getting attacked. You give that area back, which is the heart of the country, it's indefensible. Yeah, but thank God it didn't happen. Right? Even with all the threats of Iran and everything going on right now. Right? It's hard to imagine being totally taken over. But think about it. 22 Arab states surrounding Israel. What would stop them? I hope no Arabs are listening. What would stop them just sending thousands and tens of thousands of people into the land? What would stop them? It's trying to massacre the Jewish people. God forbid. There's only one thing stopping them, that's God. You say, oh, we have nuclear weapons, this and that. Okay, are they going to get mobilized? I'm talking about sheer numbers. Like be 100 million to like a million. Sheer numbers. What's stopping them? God is stopping. That's the only thing that makes sense. Right? I mean, some love us, some don't love us, whatever. They don't want Israel to be here, most of them. So, if that's the case, nothing physically stopping them. Or what's stopping, God forbid, the Arabs in territories doing this. You got millions of Arabs there. What's stopping them? You can stop some of them coming in, some of them attacking. What if they all just decided? Thousands of people all at once on like 5 different fronts. You don't have enough sheer manpower. Stop them. And with all the weapons you have. Yeah, what's stopping them? Nothing. Except for God. If it wouldn't be God, then yeah, we'd be toast. We'd totally be toast. So does that mean the guarantee, that fact that we're in the land now, that we're going to still be here? No, not a guarantee. I would say, if you'd ask me my own personal opinion for what it's worth, do I foresee that happening? No. Hard to imagine. Could it happen? Anything's possible. Right? Definitely anything's possible. Somebody, so that's what I would answer. Yeah, that at the last stage of the coming of the children of Israel will be in the desert of the nations. That means simply they're not going to be in the land. They're going to be living outside the land. That's what it means. Yeah. Now, 45 days, I don't know. Maybe even if God forbid we did get spit out, let's say that would happen. The Jewish people here, 6.5 million Jews, trek of tears, a lot of people died, whatever. Everyone else got thrown out. Yeah, so you could say, so that's only going to be for a short amount of time. Right? That'd be a simple explanation. That even if they would be thrown out, it's only going to be for a short amount of time. Otherwise, I don't know. Right? I don't have a better explanation than that. That, it'd be temporary. It'd be temporary time. But again, there's a Medrash in Tehillim in the book of Psalms that says that we're not going to be here. We're not going to be in the land. Rabbi was telling me this once. And he says, yeah, the Messiah is going to gather us and bring us into the land. He had this big smile. I'm like, what are you smiling at? You're also not going to be in the land. You're also going to be outside the land. Now, he didn't clarify and say, well, that's only going to be for 45 days. I don't know. I have to look at the source, see what it says. But if you go according to the Medrash and Psalms, then that means we're not going to be here. Could be longer than 45 days. Could be a lot longer. Yeah. So, I don't know specifically 45 days. Don't know. And we take that literally. That's, we're all going to be in the desert. It's only going to be that. It's only going to be a month and a half. Then we're all going to come back. Whoever survived. Don't know. Don't know. Let me see other questions here. Someone asked, when non-Jews curious about Kiddush and Shabbos scandals, am I allowed to share with them or is that forbidden? I mean, you can share with them, tell them what you do, but again, it doesn't apply to them. It won't apply to them. If they're interested, they want to learn more about it, very good. But, and that's what I would say on that. Is work permitted on Tisha B'Av? I would say on the 9th of the fast of the 9th of Av, only after Chatzos, only after halachic midday. If the person works, they won't see any blessing from it. If you have to work, you have to work. But it's certainly better to work after halachic midday if you can get out of it. Right then, already be allowed to. You already be allowed to. But before that, I would say no. If a person couldn't get out of it, they had to work. Okay, so you had to work. But it is brought down. You won't see any blessing from it if you do. Christians buy property and live in the holy city of Jerusalem. They do. They have plenty of land in the holy city. Yeah, but it's forbidden to sell non-Jews land in Israel. Be surprised how much the Christians own in Israel. But yeah, it's pretty explicit. You can't sell land to them. So how have they been able to do it? Well, we're not living according to Torah, right? You're not living. You don't have a government according to Torah. If you had a government according to Torah, all these things should be revoked. You're not allowed to. It's forbidden to sell non-Jews land in Israel. So it says, Rambam says Muslims follow Allah, right? It was the same God as the Jews. Hamas listening to God of Israel's keeping Torah of the land. If they are, there's a difference of opinion. There's a difference of opinion whether Islam is idolatry or not. We hold, technically speaking, that it's not. That if a Jew needed to pray somewhere, the only place he could pray was a mosque. He could go there. He could go there to pray, right? So obviously, we hold that it's not idolatry because he can't go into a church. That would be forbidden. Now, if Allah is the same God, right? Let's say they believe in the same God, so it's not idolatry. Very good. Right? Is he the same God of the, one second, if he's the same God of the Jews, Hamas listening to God if Israel isn't keeping Torah in the land. They are doing whatever they want to do. According to them, if they're following, what he says, and we deserve to die, so obviously, even if they're praying to the same God, that's not, that'd be obviously forbidden, certainly according to Torah, right? No question. But, if the Jews don't do what they're supposed to do, God is going to put enemies against us, make us repent that way, right? Because one of the opinions, the Gemara says that when the Messiah is going to come, he come in two ways: in peace, or God can put up a king like Haman, like Mr. Haman himself, and will repent that way, right? That's not going to be good, but at least the Jewish people repent. So if the Jewish people are not doing what we're supposed to do, God has a lot of shluchim, a lot of messengers that God can send our way. God forbid. Right? The Muslims are going to be a problem for the Jewish people till the end of days. That's never going to change. That's why the Medrash says when Yishmael is dying, the angels say, "Let him die." God says, "Is he guilty?" Because the angel said, "Look what he's going to do in the future. Look what his offspring are going to do." So God says, "Very good. I agree with you. But is he guilty? Right now, is Yishmael guilty?" Say no. It says you can't kill him. Because we learn out from Yishmael, the Pasuk says, the verse tells us, Basher Husham, where he's holding right now. So a person's going to get judged where they're holding now, not what they're going to do potentially in the future. So therefore, is Hamas listening to God? I don't know who they're listening to. All right? Even if we hold that they're listening, that they're praying to the God of Israel, okay, that doesn't make it idolatry. Yeah. That doesn't make it idolatry. But if they're praying, to the God of Israel to destroy the Jewish people because we deserve it and this and that, so God can look at it one of two ways. He can say maybe they do, maybe they don't, or partially, or whatever. But they're not listening to God over here. God doesn't want, someone's praying to God, "I want you to destroy the Jewish people." All right, look at Bilam, evil non-Jewish prophet. God didn't allow him to curse the Jewish people. Right, but it's an interesting question that we brought up, that Bilam, why didn't he pray that Balak should be successful? Now, they were enemies. Midian and Moab were enemies. But even if they were enemies, they had a common enemy. Who was that? The Jewish people. Very good. So why didn't Bilam pray that Balak should be successful? Because he hated the Jews so much that he wanted to curse them. Right? That's one answer. Right, that is one answer. So, if the Jews are supposed to be punished, and the Muslims are going to be the one to do it, or anyone else is going to do it, it's So it's not a question of following God or not following God. The question is, do we deserve punishment and who's going to do it? So, could God listen and say, yeah, they deserve to be punished, I'm going to let you do it? Does that mean they're praying to the right God and God is listening to them? You could argue that. Right? You could argue that. But the reality is that if the Jews deserve to be punished, then God has a lot of messengers he can use. So if they say, listen, they stole our land, they did this, they did that, God feels they should be punished, they will be punished through them. Right? But to say like they're praying to the same God and God's going to listen to them, it depends. Right? That would, if they have a good claim, let's say, and everyone has their angel that pleads in front of God, if they have a good claim, God can say, you're right, very good, and he'll use them to punish the Jews. But that's only if the Jews deserve punishment. If they don't deserve punishment, they can claim whatever they want, right? Doesn't really matter, right? That's not going to matter. So Christians buy property and live in the holy city or in Israel? No, it's forbidden. According to Torah, it's forbidden. 100% it's forbidden to sell non-Jews land in Israel. Can the U.S. make a law not to sell land to a Jew? I don't know. Can they? Can they make a law, not to sell land to blacks? I don't think so. I mean, it shouldn't be able to. But who knows? They could do anything. I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them. Who knows? Could they? Theory. Very hard to imagine. Even with what's going on. Still, we still have protection there. Could it change? Oh, yeah, it could. Very well could change. Right? A lot of things could change. A lot of things could change. Is it probable? Again, according to the Constitution, it shouldn't be. I mean, they could change it probably. Make new laws, right? But, the way the Constitution states right now, it shouldn't be allowed to. Right? It should definitely not be allowed to do it. Could they in the future? Who knows? You see what's going on there with Jews in America. Who knows? Right? Again, I would find that hard to believe, but, it could happen. Could very well happen. Then Yishmael make tshuva at the end. Yeah. Doesn't matter. He himself repented, as is brought down. Doesn't mean all his offspring did. Means he did. His offspring, maybe they went off the derech. They went against what he said, and what he believed. And they said, we made him look bad in the Quran. And, so the Torah made him look bad, and all that. Could very well be. But again, it doesn't say his offspring repented. It says he himself repented. Very good. Right? It doesn't say his offspring did. It definitely doesn't make that statement. If Judah is king, who is his throne? It's going to be the Jewish people, right? Not sure what the question is. Yeah, but if one of the things the Messiah has to come from the line of David, right? So he's going to be anointed. It's going to be clear that he is the Messiah. Then they're going to try and figure out how to kill him, but he is going to be known, as the Messiah. So therefore, who's he going to reign over the Jewish people in the whole world? Right? I don't think there's any question. But again, one thing he cannot do in that process is die. Right? That we learned from Rebbe Kiva and Bar Kokhba, because he thought Bar Kokhba was the Messiah. And he saw in the end, when he died, he wasn't. So the Rambam there learns that one of the things the Messiah cannot do, he's got other things he has to do, but one thing he cannot do is die. Right? But again, he's going to rule over the Jewish people. Right? He's going to bring the Jewish people into the land. He's going to build the Beis Hamikdash. He's going to bring the temple. Right? And all that. Where is the Jewish religion created? It wasn't the land of Israel, it was outside. Right? And first of all, it's not a religion, it's a way of life. Right? Well, don't look at it as a religion. Right? But God came to Moses, started from, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, even though, Abraham's called the father of all nations. But he passed down Torah knowledge to his son, passed it down to his son, right? Passed it down to his son, right? And as we know, it's the Jewish people. But when did it get solidified? When were the Jewish people really made? By Mount Sinai, right? And God revealed himself to the nation, 3 million people. not, give or take, right? 2 to 3 million people, right? So therefore, Jewish people really became a nation, by Mount Sinai, even though God took them out of Egypt, right? He had to teach them and nurture them, whatever, but they only really became a nation outside of Israel. So when they came to Mount Sinai. So the whole question is, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, what were they? Were they Jews? Were they non-Jews? Right? Were they Noahites? If they're Jews, there are a lot of questions. Right? There are a lot of questions. How could Yaakov be married to 2 sisters? Right? That's one question. How could Tamar be with Yehuda? Right? Maybe, some commentaries say stayed together with her afterwards. That's the whole question. How he could, if according to the Torah was forbidden. Number of questions. So it could be they kept the Torah at a different level, not exactly as the Torah was given, but they definitely kept, a lot of different things. But again, when are the Jewish people solidified as a nation? We're not going to call it a religion, as a nation, and that's at Mount Sinai, right? And that was passed down generation to generation. Which is created wasn't in the land of Israel. No, actually, it was outside the land. Right? There is a command to go in the land and live there, yeah. But it's interesting that God gave the Torah, solidified Jewish people as a nation outside of Israel. The reason why Torah wasn't given in the land. Right? Yosef is the throne. Okay, so they have the Messiah of Yosef also. Right? So the whole question if the Messiah of Yosef is going to die or not, but he's, he helps the Messiah and do what he needs to do. Whether he dies or not, it's a big question. But where is the Messiah who's going to do everything else? It's the Messiah of David. You need both. I'm not saying you don't need both. One's going to die, though, potentially. Messiah of David is not going to die, at least when he's bringing in the Jewish people to the land of Israel, or when he is when he's building the base of Mikdash. Cannot die in the process. Right? That's one thing he can't do. Can't die. Any other questions? It's okay to put them as those only on one doorpost if you have multiple rooms. Nope. If you're going to do it, you do it in all rooms. Mitzvahs cost money. Got to do it. Right? I wouldn't necessarily tell you to do it right now. Right? But as a Jew, you have to have all your rooms covered. And apartment ones at 16 doors. You know what 16 doors, proper mezuzahs? It's a lot of money. Should have been exempt, no? Why should I have been exempt? You're doing every door, right? Except the bathroom door. Any place that has a wall, like it's kind of like a doorpost, right? Any place like that. So every door has to be done. Every single door. Also a balcony. If you get a door going out to a balcony, yeah. To use that balcony, sure. Of course, that's a storage shed. Yeah, probably should have one on there also, even if you don't. It's not necessarily going to live in there. I gotta think about that, about a storage set. But in general, yeah, to a balcony, if you have a door going outside, sure. You have a doorway. We got to someone that was thought to be the Messiah but died, right? Was he potentially the Messiah? Could have been. Right? There's a spark of the Messiah in every generation. However that works, I don't know. But if there's one person generation who knows the Messiah, whether he reveals himself or not, it's a different issue. But, if that person dies, then it has to be given over to someone else. But if someone is known to be the Messiah, clear that they're doing certain things, that, again, they are bringing the Jewish people to the land of Israel, building the temple, cleaning up all the mess, and all that, they can't die. They cannot die in the process. Right? A lot of people potentially also could have been the Messiah, but for whatever reason didn't merit it. So that's a whole nother issue. Throughout history, there have been, different people could have been the Messiah. It didn't happen. Right? Why didn't it happen? Because the sins of the Jewish people. Or the sin of that person themselves or whatever. Or both. Right? But for different reasons didn't merit it. Because it didn't merit it, it didn't happen. We're still waiting. Right? We are definitely still waiting. Mashiach ben Yosef will be resurrected. Who says? Who says he's going to be resurrected? He dies, he dies. I mean, listen, if he deserves to be resurrected, he'll be resurrected like everybody else. Okay. Yeah, even if he dies. Anyone who merits to be resurrected will be resurrected. It's not a problem. Why don't you put mezuzah on both doorposts? Because it doesn't say that. It says put on the doorpost. It doesn't say doorposts. One doorpost. You only put it on one side, not both. Torah uses mezuzot, right? Put mezuzahs on your doorpost. It could be multiple doorposts. right? That's why it says it in the plural, but it's only on one doorpost, not both. Is Rabbi Schneerson the King Mashiach? I don't think so. He died. There are people that are they call messianic, call messianics that believe he was the Messiah. But again, there's a problem. He can't die. So even if he could have been the Messiah, which could have been, right? I don't have anything, against him. Definitely, he definitely could have been, had that potential. Very good, right? But he died. So there are people that believe that he is the Messiah, and he's still the Messiah, but other people hold that's idolatry, 100% idolatry, right? So if you would ask me, is it idolatry, these people? Yes. Other people say it's just a crazy thing they think, but it's not idolatry. Other people are very adamant that it is idolatry, right? But again, you can't die in the process. That's the point, right? That is the point. But yeah, it says that it's written on the mezuzahs of your house, right? Normally it's translated on the doorposts of your house. Very good. Even if mezuzah is in plural, it doesn't mean you only have one doorpost, right? It means you can have multiple doorposts, right? And that's what it means. That's what it means. So even if it's in the plural, it's not talking about that. It's not talking about putting it on both sides. That's not what it's talking about. Yeah. Any other questions? Somebody asks, gathering exiles or building the temple, the descendant of David established universal peace. Yes. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to do. That's why, even if people want to say that JC was a Messiah, he didn't do it. It's only to bring world peace. Everyone's going to agree he's the Messiah. There's no question, right? A third of the people are going to die, a third are going to survive, and a third will be somewhere in limbo, right? But everyone's going to agree he's the Messiah, and it should bring world peace, right? The Messiah should bring world peace. But obviously, we haven't had that, right? So the Christians will learn however they learn. Good luck to them. They'll learn it, but he did not fulfill anything. He didn't build a temple. He didn't bring in the exiles, and he's not going to bring world peace. So he didn't do that, right? He's going to inspire Torah observance. He's going to be a great leader, right? He's going to be a great, a leader as well. So yeah, I mean, anything else? That's what I know that he's going to do. Christians better read Torah. They read the Greek New Testament. Okay, right? Christians don't know anything anyway. They don't know anything about Torah. So they'll claim what they claim. It doesn't really matter. But point is that he didn't fulfill what they claim he did. What was Yeshu a Jew? Yeah, he was. Misguided Jew. But he definitely was. He definitely was, no question. I mean, some claim he didn't exist, but I don't know. I'm not going to claim to be an expert in that, whether he's just figurative or a real person, but it doesn't really matter. If he was a Jew, right? And Talmud does describe somebody who's a student of Reb Shua ben Prachia. Seems to be him. Other people say maybe it wasn't him, but if it was, then yeah. Then there's no question. If he did exist, then he was for sure a Jew. I don't think there's any question. A wayward Jew. Right, he went off and went against the rabbis and different things. Very good, but definitely, if he did exist, he was definitely a Jew. The Gemara explained to what this rabbi, the rabbi was praying. That it's a different issue. Right, we said he made a lewd comment and wanted to ask for forgiveness. The rabbi threw him out. Second time, he threw him out. Third time, he was praying. Couldn't answer him. And then he went off and became who he was. So that rabbi was taking a task. Should have accepted him. Should have accepted his repentance. But in either case, right, he threw him out twice. Third time, he allowed him. He would have accepted his repentance, but he didn't. He couldn't because he was in the middle of prayer. He was in the middle of saying the Shema, I think. But it wasn't. He couldn't accept it. He couldn't speak to him, but he would have. And then after that, it was too late. After that, it was too late. The Jews curse JC, the curse in Israel. Nope, not at all. You can't. You're right, but what a curse can do is it can open up divine judgment. If it opens up divine judgment, then yeah, it doesn't mean the people will be cursed. It just means the person, maybe people in the land get punished. That's what it means. They even if they curse him, so what? He was a heretic. Heretics deserve to be cursed, right? So if he deserves to be cursed, that's not a problem. That is not a problem. That's definitely not a problem. You're right. Can't curse someone who's blessed, but if they're not blessed, but you do see from Bilam he had the power to do that. God didn't allow him to do it, but he had the power. He had the power to curse. God didn't allow him to. So you see, the power of cursing is a real thing. It's a strong thing. Yeah. Any other questions? Reincarnation, is that Kabbalah or scriptural? It's Kabbalah. I mean, it can be learned into some verses, but usually it's Kabbalistic. Isn't JC innocent in the situation? Why? He lived and died as a Jew, and his followers created Christianity. But he deserved to die. 100% he deserved to die. The Gemara says blasphemy, idolatry, sorcery, all kinds of things. Right? You're right. If they created something from him, they made him into what he wasn't. You're right. So his followers are the ones to blame, but he's not blameless here. But look how many people died in his name, even if it was followers. Right? So I don't have an answer for that. Why is it that he himself, in his name, even if his followers made him as great as he was, right? And he never did it in his lifetime. Even if it was followers, but look how many people died in his name. So you're right, his followers are guilty. It doesn't mean JC's not punished. He got punished for what he did. Right? But look how many people died in his name. So also, even if, again, is he going to get blamed for all the people died in his name? I don't know about that. Right? Well, if he didn't do it himself, let's say, even if his followers did it, it still looks bad. It still looks bad. Tens of thousands of people, that died in his name. But he'll be guilty for what he did. No question. Even if he didn't have anything to do with that later. The fact that he's associated with it and it happened, the punishment could be severe. It'd be less severe, but even if he didn't do it. He's guilty for things he did, no question. So you're asking an interesting thing. If he didn't do that and he didn't spread it and it was really other people did it, but it was done in his name, that looks pretty bad. That looks pretty bad. Now, it's going to be guilty in every instance that I can answer. I don't know. If they made him out to something that he wasn't, so the idolatry is based on them, not on him. Okay, so maybe he's not punished for that. Maybe. But all the people died in his name, that's certainly not good. Certainly not good for his record. But, at the end of the day, he got punished for what he got punished for. For what he did. So these other things, he can also get punished for. Maybe it's not as severe, but, or maybe the fact that it's because of, of his influence or anything else. But if you tell me he didn't do anything, the influence of others, punishment should be less. But I would say having people die, a lot of people die in your name is going to be bad. No question about that. Someone says all mountains are considered part of the deserts. You're talking about Mount of Olives, okay. Yeah. So what does it mean? Mashiach comes and all mountains are split into two parts. I don't know. There are a lot of different explanations on that. Um, yeah, then I have to see what it says over there. What exactly that is? Why the Mount of Olives has to split? right? But that has nothing to do with Jews being outside the land. That's a totally different issue, right? That's Zechariah, but that's a totally different issue. Someone here mentions things Zohar says those words, the sun will perish, but the sun will not be destroyed. Okay. Yeah, that could be. That could be why was JC put to death? Blasphemy, idolatry, causing people to go after idolatry, sorcery. I mean, there are a number of reasons. Those are a few of them. Someone says, how can you claim that JC was the reincarnation of Asa? I have no idea. No idea. No idea why that would be. Very hard to imagine. Very hard to imagine, but can't even imagine it's brought down there. There's a book called Sefer Gilgulim. It's a book about reincarnation. Who is who in Tanakh, and what they did, and why they were doing things, and whatever, written by the Arizal. One of my rabbis, very much steeped in Kabbalah, said in order to read that book, you have to have a lot of really strong faith in God. It's a very hard book to go through, in general. But I've never heard such a thing, right? And it's a good point that why would it mention that Esav was a reincarnation? I don't know. Don't know. So what does it mean when Messiah comes split? I don't know. Can I pray for the fall of the wicked Venezuelan governments? Yeah, why not? You certainly can. JC was Jewish when his soul returns, he returned as Esav. Who says? What's the source in that? Show me a source. Let's say he's going to return as Esav. Who says Esav's coming back? Right? Who says Esav's coming back? He's buried in the cave of the patriarchs, right? His head, not his body. But who says he's going to get resurrected? I would think he's not going to get resurrected. So the Jewish reasons to die, why the Romans kill him? I don't know. Don't know. Romans had other reasons to kill him. Right? Probably had a lot of reasons to kill him. Right? What are the reasons? I don't know. Go look into that history. They could have had their own reasons, but that was the question. Why did we kill him? What the Romans did afterwards, I can't answer. Why they hung him up and everything else. So Gemara says clear, we killed him. Yeah. So you want to know why we killed him? I mentioned why I killed him. Yeah. Even if people go through Gilgulim, doesn't matter. Even if people, are reincarnated, doesn't mean they're getting up a resurrection of the dead. They don't fulfill what they need to do. They don't merit to get resurrected. They're not getting resurrected. Even if they come back as a reincarnated soul. Yeah. I didn't say he can't reincarnate. Even if he does, even if any, non-Jew, evil person, whatever, comes back. Let's say they come back as a reincarnation. Let's say. I said he can't be. Who said he's going to get resurrected? Resurrected is a different thing. If he comes back, reincarnation is one thing. Getting resurrected? Who says he's going to merit it? So if he comes back, you tell me someone comes back, they get fixed up, their soul gets fixed up in this world, then in theory they should get resurrected. In theory. It's going to be that great day. Everyone's going to get judged. And only those that merit to get resurrected will get resurrected. Right? Reincarnation and resurrection are not the same thing. Reincarnation means that the soul can come in a different body at a different time. Yeah, and be here to fix up whatever it needs to fix up. Resurrection of the dead is a totally different thing. It's a totally different thing. So if you tell me they get fixed up in this world, they fulfill whatever they need to fulfill, they get fixed up, good. Then comes resurrection. In theory, they should, all things being equal, if they got fixed up, very good. But who says these wicked people, even if they were reincarnated, should come back? That God should allow them to come back, be resurrected. Who says? Right? Someone says, Gemara says Jews killed JC. Yes. Also 5 of his disciples, which I don't know, we know who they are. But there's also 5 of his disciples that I don't think too many people have heard of. Yeah, any other questions. What is the book called again? Sefer Gilgulim. Right, I'll put it up here. Yeah, but it's never been translated, so you don't have to worry about it. It's possible. One second. How can a non-Jew reincarnate into a Jew? Ace of the JC. Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. Because Kabbalistically, there's a question. Anyone who wants to convert, yeah, must have had a Jewish soul. At some point, they must have had a Jewish soul at Mount Sinai. Very good. If they had a Jewish soul, what happened? Intermarriage and assimilation, that soul is now no longer Jewish. How does that work? That's Kabbalah. I can't answer that. Right? How does a non-Jewish soul become Jewish or a Jewish soul become non-Jewish? No. That I don't know. But you can see a Jew can be, a Jew can be, what do you call it? That soul could be a non-Jewish soul. Yeah. A non-Jew reincarnated into a Jew, can a Jew be reincarnated, let's say a male, can it be reincarnated into a female? Yes. Can it be reincarnated into an animal? Yes. Could be reincarnated even as a non-Jew. Why not? What's stopping God from putting a Jewish soul into a non-Jew? If he can put it into an animal, he can put it into a non-Jew. Not that I'm comparing the two. Right? He could. So it's not a contradiction. It's possible for the Sanhedrin to become the first final law of the land. No. Only in the time when the Messiah comes. Once the Messiah comes, then the Sanhedrin will be reformed, but not before. Kiva was a non-Jew, but he converted, no? So what's the problem? When a person converts, they get a Jewish soul. Yeah, any other questions? He didn't stay a non-Jew, he became a Jew. So that's not an issue. So if we're bad, we can reincarnate as a rock. Yeah, probably this is the last time anyone's going to come back in this world that's reincarnated. So usually it's 3 times, maybe maximum 4 times. It's probably the last time around, most likely. So yeah, a person could be an inanimate object. Could be a rock. Could be a wall. All kinds of things. A person could come back. Why can a person come back in a rock? Let's say they bully people. So the punishment for that is being, you don't have any control, so people kick you around, so to speak. Yeah. A lot of different reasons, potential reasons. So a person, they come back as an inanimate object, could come back as, in the opposite sex. They could come back as a wall. They could come back as an animal, anything, many different things. I'm going to stop there. I do this every Saturday, 2:30 Eastern time, 9:30 Israel time. Anyone has any questions, you can find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, and Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Esther Fathers, Q&As, Book of Leviticus. Want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com, whichever good. Beginning of the day, middle of the day, end of the day, depending where you are.